Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Knott, and I'm helping out with today's session. So first of all, welcome to Millions Served and Billions Saved, the Impact of OER Marketing, presented by Bidwell and Lindsay. Just a reminder that the conference code of conduct is still in effect for this session, and we're going to be recording this session as well. So yeah, after we start recording, I'm going to say over, but yeah, thank you for coming. So kind. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Hope everybody had a lovely lunch, filled up on caffeine, have some water, ready to talk some marketing. Welcome again. Our presentation today is Millions Served and Billions Saved, the Impact of OER Marketing. My name is Sarah Bidwell. I'm here with my colleague, Lindsay, and we work with OpenStax. If you're familiar with OpenStax, we have been around for 25 years. We're celebrating that anniversary this fall, and we have had the privilege of serving over 36 million students and saving them over $2.9 billion so far to date. So we're so proud to be part of OpenStax, the organization, and we wanted to come and share some of our learnings, some of the best practices we have found with helping expand OER awareness and usage across both K-12 and higher ed campuses. So again, my name is Sarah Bidwell. My email is up there. Please contact me anytime. I will share before we get started, my background primarily is in content marketing and also public relations and media relations.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay. I serve as the demand generation specialist at OpenStax, which is just like a fancy long title for marketing. I manage all of our higher education marketing campaigns for our 60+ higher ed textbooks and our flagship higher ed education technology product called Assignable. My pronouns are she, her, and if you have any questions after the presentation or have any marketing questions, you can always send me an email at my email address right here. To cover today's agenda, first we're going to start with where to start when it comes to marketing. Then we're going to share some strategies and tips for developing your outreach strategy, for creating and distributing your marketing materials, and for leveraging existing networks and institutional resources when promoting your OER. Following that, we'll do a case study of an OpenStax textbook and share how we apply some of these marketing best practices to the launch of Organic Chemistry 10E, which was a very significant and exciting title for us. We'll finish things off with a Q&A and then share some resources that you can take home to get started on marketing your OER. But of course, Mentimeter. So if folks want to scan this QR code, or if they want to go to menti.com and put in the code, we have a question for everyone to get started with. And you only need to fill out the first question, and we'll get to the other questions in a little bit. Our question is, what is your biggest pain point when it comes to marketing your OER? It's so fun seeing the numbers in real time.
That's a good one. Now marketing.
Give another like 30 seconds or so for folks to answer. Great, thank you so much for filling that out. If you haven't, don't worry, you can still fill it out. Our two most popular responses are, I don't have the time, and I'm not a marketer, I don't know where to start. And we speak to so many instructors every single week, and these are two really common pain points that we hear. Instructors are overworked, and oftentimes the folks doing the OER marketing also have other jobs. Marketing is not their full-time role. It's only a fraction of the work that they have to do. I see some nods in the audience. Folks are resonating. And then I'm not a marketer. I don't know where to start. Also really common, if you have your doctorate in education, marketing is not something that you're taught in school. A lot of folks aren't, and it can be really challenging to figure out where to start and how to get started. And we are so excited to cover that in our next slides.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. Yeah, if you haven't stopped to see us downstairs yet, please do. We have the OpenStax booth downstairs, but one of the most popular conversations we've been having so far today is from OER librarians and faculty who are authors of OER. So those are kind of the two groups we've been talking to most often today. And if you author OER and you want folks to know that it exists, you want them to use it and enjoy it as the OER you have used and enjoyed with your students, you're not sure where to start. And if you're an OER librarian, one of the common pain points we've heard today is it's just hard to connect with faculty and kind of get over some of those standard objections. You know, I've always used the same textbook for years. Why change now? OER is free. It can't be good, right? Those are common objections that we hear in our everyday work. Marketing as a field is large and it can feel very overwhelming, and you know, there's so many different facets to it. So one of the primary takeaways we'd like for you to have today is to start small and start simple. And there's some really powerful, impactful things that you can do by just taking a first step and putting your toe in the water. And then as you get more comfortable, starting to grow. Now, as a community, the OER community, we believe in reusing, redistributing, remixing, right? Let's look what's already out there as a first step. That's always the first thing we do. We love evergreen content. We repurpose. We'll talk more about that as we go. But there are lots of organizations that exist. You know, quick Google can help you find some marketing templates to get started. But certainly do start with what exists. And I think acknowledge that we all have something to teach and we all have something to learn as a community, as an ethos. And if we work together, we can really make a dent in the OER adoption world. So I wanted to, in the spirit of sharing, on our blog, which is open to anybody to share their experiences with OER expansion or OER in general, we have a case study on here, and we'll share the link with you at the end, of 3 OER librarians from Colorado College. And I wanted to share this with you because it's such a great example. And let me give credit where credit is due. This is Rebecca Floyd, Nicole Gresham, and Patrick Munt from Colorado College. They are from a small liberal arts college that had a grant program, and they were able to drastically grow their OER program on campus. And one of the benefits that they found, of course, was cost savings, but what they really go into in the blog is how they were able to achieve that with the schedule they had on campus. But they really wanted to highlight the visibility that they had as librarians, the visibility the faculty had with one another, the awareness that was raised around OER, what is it, how to get it, how to use it, how to customize it. And it was really quite a success story. So we will give you that link at the end. But this is in the spirit of they learned, they shared, and you can benefit from that case study. And as you learn, we hope you continue to share with the community and share with us as well to help others. Okay.
All right, long time no see. Wow. So something that we want to cover now is developing your outreach strategy. There are 3 important things that we think you should consider when you're first brainstorming how you want to market your OER. And before we get that, so we know this is a lot of information, and we actually will share the link to the slides at the end. So don't worry if you don't have time to write down every single tip. We will send you home with all of this information. But in terms of what we want you to consider, the first is, what is your goal? Some folks may be wanting to direct their OER towards students. They want to build student awareness and student engagement, while other folks are more so focused on acquiring faculty adoptions and getting instructors to use their resources and implement them into their courses. This ties into our audience. Who is your audience for promoting your OER? Are you directing your marketing efforts towards students? Do you hope to build student OER advocates? Are you marketing towards faculty at your institution or within your own department who are familiar with what your institution offers? Are you marketing to faculty also at other institutions? Certain courses and scope and sequence may vary across institution. So your audience is really important for figuring out in your marketing materials the exact information that you should communicate. Lastly, we really want you to consider what platforms you should use. There are dozens and dozens of free platforms and tactics that you can choose to start with. There are a lot of examples on this slide here, and a few that we want to highlight are in green. So social media is an incredible way to reach a lot of folks at once. You can share your OER on your personal social media. You can coordinate with your institution's public relations office to share your OER on their Instagram page or their Facebook page. You can also reach out to related organizations like OpenStax, for example, to have that organization share their OER on their social media. Many instructors have created OER to go alongside our textbooks. So they've created test banks or lab manuals, and we have promoted them to our audience because we know just how valuable these resources are for folks. And social media has been a really powerful way for us to share those instructor-made resources and provide even more support to instructors. Next, there are so many regional and virtual OER conferences. A couple of weeks ago, we attended Open Texas, and next week we're also attending another virtual OER conference. Typically, these conferences are virtual, so you can attend them from the comfort of your office or from your home. They usually are free for presenters, and they are a really excellent way to promote your OER and to share your OER with others. The conference that we're attending next week, there are specific sessions about the OER that folks have created, and they shared how they created the OER and how they share it with others. So it can be a really powerful way to get your resource into the hands of folks who are familiar with OER or who are wanting to learn more. Next, I'm a huge fan of Google Groups. There are several OER Google Groups that are really active every single day, and folks share the resources they've created in there. I really want to highlight the Spark Open Education Forum, and not just because Spark has been the incredible force behind the Open Ed conference, but their Google group has been an excellent resource for OpenStax and for other instructors. Not only has OpenStax been able to use this open education forum to share our own resources, but we actually are able to answer instructor questions, see other resources that instructors have created, and better understand what instructors need and figure out on our end how we can meet those needs. Lastly, a faculty and administrator toolkit can be super helpful. As Sarah mentioned, there are a lot of barriers to OER adoption on campuses, especially as it pertains to some misconceptions around the quality of OER and the accessibility of OER. And putting together some information for faculty and administrators about what OER is, how it benefits students, and identifying some of those misconceptions can allow you to overcome a huge barrier to adoption. We are going to share our faculty administrator toolkit at the end of the session that has some graphics that we've put together to highlight OpenStax's mission and work, and you may find that those are really great templates for you and your marketing needs. Okay, everyone's favorite, another Mentimeter. You can go to the same exact link that you've had on your phone, and I'm going to share the other screen. All right. I'll keep this up just in case folks are still working on that.
Need to change what you say, share.
Yes. Sorry, inevitable technical difficulties.
Lindsay over there, maybe you could just voice that over if it's, if this just is staying for this. Okay,
I think it should be working now.
that might be the first time I have ever had a magic touch. That one?
Yes.
Going more, okay, perfect, there we go. First time ready.
Thank you for your patience. So we have quite a few responses coming in. The larger the word, the more popular that response. It's really great seeing the variety of responses, and I think this really speaks to the fact that what works best for you may not work best for another instructor or that instructor's OER, and that's perfectly okay. Different ways of marketing will work better for some folks and not as well for other folks based on their audience and their goals and the nature of their OER. And there are so many different options that you can choose from that work best for you. I like these, the in-person sessions, school newsletter, that's a great one. See, the toolkit and the workshop are popular. Absolutely, those face-to-face interactions and clarifying some of those initial questions about OER can be really powerful for garnering adoptions. All right, you should be able to continue seeing those responses on your devices. I'm gonna go back to the slides. Wonderful. So we have some pro tips that we want to share with you. So the first one is that every platform has its own unique success metrics. And it's really important that you keep track of those metrics. And it can be as intricate or as entry level as you would like. So if for an in-person session, if the only thing that you're interested in tracking is the number of attendees, that's perfectly okay. We know that folks wear a lot of hats and there's a lot of moving parts, but there are a lot of benefits to keeping track of your success metrics. So first, it allows you to understand which platforms are working well and which platforms aren't working so well. So it allows you to pivot your marketing strategy as needed. Based on this data, you can improve your marketing outreach and figure out if there is an audience that you may be missing out on, or if there is additional information that you should be communicating. Additionally, gathering these metrics can allow you to garner buy-in from faculty, departments, and your institution's administration. Oftentimes, some of the resistance that folks have towards implementing OER is that their department heads or their institution's administrations don't see the full value of OER, and sharing your success metrics can show these folks, hey, folks want OER, folks need OER, and they're interested in the OER that I created. Next, keeping track of your metrics is really valuable for applying for grants. There are more and more grants popping up both nationally, statewide, as well as institution specific that allow folks to be compensated for the OER that they've created. Creating OER is not an easy task, and folks deserve to be compensated for that really intricate work. So keeping track of your success metrics can be really valuable for applying for those grants and receiving funding to improve your OER. Lastly, keeping track of these metrics is valuable for your own professional pathway. Some institutions are now considering OER usage when it comes to tenure decisions and promotions. So keeping track of your metrics can show the impact of the OER that you've created and the impact of all the incredible work that you've done. It can be really beneficial for your resume, for future roles you may apply for, and for ultimately showing all the incredible work that you have done. Another pro tip we want to share is that you really do not need to take on every platform at once. We recommend really just starting with 1 or 2 platforms and going from there. It's much more valuable to have a fantastic presence on one platform or using one tactic than it is to have not so great performance or not so great of an impression across the variety of platforms. Marketing success rarely happens overnight. It can take a little while to achieve the results that you're looking for, and that's perfectly okay. Faculty are also very resource constrained. there really is only so much information that they can take in at once and so much information that they can remember. I know folks will probably feel this way at the end of the conference. You've attended so many sessions, there's been so much information, it can be hard to absorb it all. And faculty are in the same boat when it comes to all of their responsibilities and the meetings that they have to attend, which is another really powerful reason why it's perfectly okay to just focus on one platform and not focus on every platform at once. Sometimes it's better to reach instructors using one touch point than it is across a variety of touch points. Lastly, as we talked about before, the folks doing this OER marketing wear multiple hats. They have multiple responsibilities. They're librarians and instructors and coordinators, and marketing is not their full-time job. OpenStax has 5 full-time marketing folks, and there's still, it feels like there's always so much work to be done. Marketing can get really intricate. So it's really important to be kind to yourself and recognize what is and what is not feasible for you to do based on your own bandwidth. And lastly, OER marketing is not one size fits all. What works best for this instructor may not work very well for another instructor, and that's perfectly okay. Some marketing strategies that OpenStax uses may not work very well for other education nonprofits and vice versa, and that's perfectly okay. It's really important to start small, pick 1 or 2 platforms and really hone in on that platform and maximize the presence and impact that you have on and using that platform. It's also really important to understand the psychology of your audience and understand what they need and the best way to reach them, so that way you can reach them in the most impactful way. Lastly, doing one marketing activity is more valuable than doing no activities at all. A little bit of progress is so much more valuable than making none at all. I think about this sometimes when it comes to any skill. The more time that you spend practicing this skill, the better you get at it. And it doesn't always apply to marketing. Sometimes it really is just better to focus on one marketing activity, become a rock star when it comes to toolkits or info sessions or mass emails. And that's much more valuable than stretching yourself way too thin.
Thank you, Lindsay. Before moving on, I do want to acknowledge what Lindsay just said about the psychology of your audience. You know, you are on the ground floor with those that you wish to adopt OER, whether it's your OER or OER in general across campus, and really paying attention to what you're hearing them say as to their objections will help you have a strategy for the content you put forth. So it's easy to start a Mastodon account or a Facebook account to try to get information out there, but before you do that, think about what you need to say to make progress with this audience, right? So if it's a quality argument, maybe you can show examples from different textbooks, from traditional publishers, from OER, and illustrate that the quality still exists. Maybe you can invite one of the authors to do a live session with you and just talk about what thought and what work went into that resource to really underline and highlight that the quality is absolutely there, just like a traditional publisher's resources might be. So having a strategy, I will say, is important. So you're just not spinning your wheels in the mud, but it's good to keep track of your metrics, as Lindsay advised, so that you can see what's working, see what's not. I can absolutely tell you, we fail and we rebuild and we fall and we stand up, and that's what marketing is all the time. You think you have a great idea, and then it needs some tweaking and it needs some revising, but we save everything that we do because we can repurpose. We have had over 30,000 blog reads on a short blog called What Are OER? What are OER? It's that simple, but just to really break it down, what does that acronym mean in practice? And it has been so widely consumed and continues to be one of our more popular blogs every single year. So taking the time to do just simple steps like that and promoting them will really be worth their weight in gold. And feel free to reach out. We do get inquiries, and we'll put our email addresses up at the end as well. We get inquiries in from OER librarians and faculty from across the country, from institutions that just don't have the time to put together a resource and just wonder if we already have one, or if we might have a couple minutes to put it together for them, because we do this for a living, so it's quicker for us and we have the tools, and we are always happy to help. I think recently, maybe it was already last year, gosh, time flies. But we had somebody reach out about humanities. One of the objections she was receiving was they don't know how to find just humanities resources, right? So it was like, we can put together a quick flyer that lists all the humanities resources that we can find with links, and then that was something the librarian put out. In the library that worked quite well. So you'll see, we will give you that toolkit at the end, and you will see some of that work in there. Anyways, I digress. Back to free resources, there's a lot here. These are a little bit redundant. If you are into social media and you'd like to develop a brand or a personality on social to engage with your audience, none of us have time to be on social media all day, every day, posting and engaging with folks, as much as that would be fun, especially like if you have a great audience, they're fun to engage with, but we also have things to do. So Buffer and Hootsuite offer free options where you can pre-schedule posts, and they will just, while you're working away, deploy those posts. There's also native and on Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram. If you create a business page, it will allow you to pre-schedule your posts right in that platform, so you don't have to get a second one like Buffer or Hootsuite. Canva has a free version for graphic design. I am not a graphic designer. We have a wonderful graphic designer. Shout out to Micah if she's tuning in. That just saves us every day. But Canva makes it pretty intuitive to drag and drop some features in and make your materials appealing. AI, you know, everybody's at a different place with that right now, and that's absolutely okay. My personal position, if I need a few quick base social media posts that I don't have the mental space to do right now, that's a quick use case for something to save you some time. And then, of course, you know, other OER, your campus OER librarian or coordinator likely has a lot of resources for you too. The other thing we believe is just feedback is a gift. You know, whether you are an OER author or you are out there marketing or you are tasked with the expansion on your campus, talk to your colleagues. You know, we're at Open Ed right now. We're all in this together. Share amongst yourselves what has worked for me. I was able to, you know, convince somebody because I shared a YouTube video. Oh, can I have that link? Like those conversations are worth their weight in gold, we have found. Students are also a great source, and students are great ambassadors too. Even if they're not your primary target, when students understand the landscape of the industry, right? And they understand that they can get quality resources for free and save that money for their rent, their meal, their car payment, whatever it is that they need, they will support you en masse. So just sharing that information with them as you have opportunities is a great idea. We said save everything you do and repurpose. This is our bread and butter, quite frankly. So I will credit Lindsay with this particular example. This is her quality work. So on the left, you can see an email that went out to our listserv. And later, it was truncated and adapted for social media, and we had a LinkedIn post, and we were able to reach two different audiences with one piece of content that was written one time, and the graphic was the same. That same graphic was the banner on the email, and we just used it on LinkedIn. So when you do take the time to create something, really think about what are the different ways that I can spin this? How many miles can I get out of this piece of content that I just created? And then lots of places to put your, I just completely lost my train of thought. To get that marketing out there, in addition to what Lindsay has already shared. Campus bookstores are great. Students are in there all the time. If you can talk to a campus bookstore and get a flyer in there to get some stickers, right? Something to raise some awareness, that's a great spot. Student Herds, wonderful organization, and they have activated for us in the past. I'm sure they will continue to again. Connect with them. Student Government and Affordability Task Forces. One thing I'll name here, and also with the tutoring center and libraries where they go together. If you put yourself in a student's shoes and you go to your academic advisement office, or you go to your guidance counselor or your financial aid office, and you think about the reason the student is going there, they need help, they need guidance in some way. And what a great place for OER to be, right? To be that resource. So really evaluate your campus and what's around you and where your audience is. And we are, we're gonna skip this one. Is that okay? Any objections to that? All right, so, sorry.
Thank you. So now we're going to dive into a case study of how OpenStax apply these principles. And at this point, you're probably thinking that we have repeated a lot of pieces of advice. And that's a central part of marketing, is pretty much telling people the same thing over and over and over again, using the one platform you've selected or across a multitude of platforms. And organic chemistry was no exception. So this is OpenStax's first upper level textbook. John McMurray is the author of Organic Chemistry, and from 1984 all the way until OpenStax acquired the rights for this book, John McMurray published Organic Chemistry through a for-profit textbook publisher. For the 10th edition of this book, John McMurray decided to give the rights to OpenStax because he wanted to make his Organic Chemistry textbook an open educational resource and help instructors and help students for whom the cost of the textbook was a barrier. Our goal for Organic Chemistry was to acquire adoptions. This was a completely new audience for us. Our books are designed for introductory courses, so this was our first time reaching upper level folks at 2-year and 4-year colleges. When we connected with instructors, we sought to understand what are their pain points when it comes to teaching organic chemistry, and we also sought to understand what are some concerns that they have with this 10th edition becoming an OpenStax textbook and becoming an open educational resource. By speaking with instructors, we were able to understand what some barriers to adoption may be, and we were able to preemptively create marketing materials that address these concerns. So we reached instructors where they are by sending out an email, for example, with the answers to FAQs. This way it was easy to reach instructors, address some of their misconceptions. It took also the load off of our customer support team because they weren't inundated with these questions because we were able to share them with folks. When we developed our outreach strategy, this was really special for us. So we announced the publication of Organic Chemistry 13 months before the book would actually be published, because we knew that there may be some barriers to adoption for folks who honestly have been teaching with this book since 1984 and are unaware of what OER is, and were concerned that the book would drastically change and they could no longer use this tried and true textbook. So we communicated at various touch points to explain these licensing and editorial differences, and this helped to ease some instructors' anxieties. Additionally, we used a variety of different platforms. Our audience for this was both instructors who are familiar with OpenStax and instructors who have no idea what OER is. So we sought to take advantage of several different platforms in order to reach as many folks as possible, because that was what was best for our audience and our needs. We tracked all of our metrics in this spreadsheet that you see here, and this allowed us to make adjustments. So we saw that LinkedIn was performing exceptionally well. So we devoted more time and resources towards promoting organic chemistry on LinkedIn. And we also noticed that, hey, like Instagram is maybe not the hottest platform to reach certain folks. So by allocating more resources and time towards LinkedIn, we were able to improve our social media strategy and get our book into the hands of even more instructors. As I mentioned, we announced the publication of this book a year prior to aid instructor planning. We wanted to give instructors as much time as possible to acknowledge that this book was going to a new publisher and to prepare themselves. The book is very similar to the previous editions, but the biggest changes are that it's OER. We wanted to ensure that folks had the knowledge and resources to make a decision that was best for their course. We used Hootsuite to schedule our posts, and this allowed us to repeatedly contact instructors throughout the year. So we were able to schedule social media posts 3, 4, 5 months ahead of time, which ensured that we were communicating information about the book at consistent touch points throughout the course of the year leading up to the book's publication. Additionally, we leveraged our existing partnerships to promote the book. we were able to promote our book on a variety of different platforms, including inside higher ed, which allowed us to gain a lot more traction. And we also invited external parties and collaborators to develop courseware and aligned instructional tools to further facilitate instructors' needs based on the feedback that we had received. And we won a bestie. We were awarded the best higher ed product launch by the EdTech Chronicle, which I really think speaks to the effectiveness of this marketing campaign. It's also just fun to say we won a bestie. Like, all right, does anyone have any questions?
So while we're waiting for lots of hands to come up, apparently, there was one question online. Can you share success metrics for the various platforms that you talked about?
Absolutely. So if you scan this QR code, you will actually be brought to a box folder where we have a marketing metrics spreadsheet template. That is the exact same template that we had just shown on the screen.
Quick add, if you were curious about specific metrics for that campaign, please do email. I don't have that right on, top of mind, but we can share some industry averages with you and kind of how we performed throughout that.
Okay, is this working?
Yep.
Okay, sounds like it. My question is, do you include with this marketing strategy, like, suggested, like, content? I'm trying to think about how to call it, but it's like suggested content, basically, if it's all like a certain structure to like address things, if you're just starting to do this, and basically it's like ground zero, if it's all like just trying to help build not only the knowledge, but just like then be able to continue it. It's all like, okay, now we're getting these detailed questions.
Absolutely. So the question, I'm not sure if virtual folks heard this, but the question was essentially, do you have any resources for how to get started? And we do. So we highly recommend looking at this go-to-market strategy template, which takes a deep dive into questions that you should consider when you're identifying your audience and identifying the platforms that you should use. This is a pretty in-depth document, and you should make the most of it and do what's best for you. We offer a lot of questions in here for you to consider and share different examples of social media strategies or different examples of marketing strategies in general that can really help you figure out and define your audience and what platforms would be best to meet those folks where they are.
Thank you.
You shared that very enticing 2.9 billion saved figure. How did you gather that data to calculate that figure?
That's a really great question. So for virtual folks, the question was, you said that you've saved students 2.9 billion. How did you get there? We did research to figure out the average cost of a textbook, and we multiplied that by the number of students using our books. Faculty have the option to let us know if they've used our book in their course. We highly recommend if you're using an OpenStax book to let us know. And based on that adoption data, we were able to determine the $2.9 billion amount.
Thank you.
So
We are.
one more question online. So the question was, as you create your marketing communications, what recommendations do you have for developing a clear, consistent, and memorable voice that aligns with your brand?
Lindsay's like, you're upset. That is your brand. Your voice is your brand, and everybody's brand is unique, and you serve a different audience. So as you're thinking about the pain points and how your content is going to respond to those pain points, that's where you're going to cultivate your voice. So are you casual, breezy, down to earth? Are you professional, polished? You can go any different direction you want, but consistency is key, because as your audience grows, they will come to expect that personality from you. And that's what they will keep coming back for. So give some thought to that along with your strategy and like, what are your content pillars? What are the things your audience want to know? It could be courseware, it could be, quality, we all have the same kind of pain points there. Focus on. All right, thank you, everybody, and thank you, everybody from home.